Thank you, Senator. I have just one last question. Mr. Tudor, you had mentioned in your comments the need for control room operators to have hands-on training opportunities, and you referenced the Ukraine in a box. How ready are we with this program? Do we actually have utility room operators that are training kind of hands-on to how to handle a Ukraine-like attack? And really, to what extent do the men and women that are on the ground, on the front lines, being trained to handle a cyber attack?
Thank you for that question, Madam Chairman. I want to say that the people who operate our grid are highly capable and highly trained. It's really enlightening when you go into some of the command centers and some of the different utilities to talk about how they train, what they do, how they respond to events, what they do in their off time to provide this different training, the amount of training that's required. Our Ukraine in a Box is just another tool in their training environments, since for the most part our utility operators are not constantly responding to cyber attacks. Being able to add this into their training regimen will be something that will allow them to see kind of real world techniques that may be deployed against them, some of the indicators and how they might respond in a non-disruptive kind of desktop environment. So I do think that from an operational perspective, we are in very good shape here in the U.S.
One of the things that I think about coming from a state that is rural and isolated and more microgrids than large integrated grids is that you have different levels of opportunity for that kind of training that you're saying you think is pretty much in place. And I'm thinking that perhaps with our bigger utilities, they do have that opportunity, but our smaller grids that are perhaps not as integrated, as sophisticated, I worry about that level of vulnerability, and I worry that perhaps we don't have a level of training that is applicable for the different types of grid that we have throughout the country. Can you put my mind at ease a little bit there?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll try. I think that you're right. There are different levels of need and different levels of training. I think the development of some of these desktop trainings, INL and the other labs are known for their very large infrastructure, being able to bring people in and give some very unique, sophisticated training, but also to be able to put some of this training via web-based, which is happening now and more happening. These desktop-type environments, we are hoping to potentially make this an open-source type of learning environment as well, so they don't have to have our equipment to be able to run this type of training. So we are trying to export the training for more accessibility all across the nation.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Imhoff, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Imhoff, and then
So I was
Dr.
just
Raines.
talking the other day with the head of the Northwest Public Power Association, and they're based in Vancouver outside of Portland. And I believe that a number of the smaller utilities in Alaska are small publics and rural co-ops, et cetera. And they have training opportunities that they provide for their members, but they are voluntary. So, and it's not just Alaska. A lot of states, a lot of small utilities struggle to send their staff to training. So I think that there are opportunities there, processes to work with the associations that they belong to, et cetera. But my guess is if you were to talk to those community entities, a large fraction of it has to do with their resources available to send people to training. And that would be where I would start, try to get a sense for what resources do they need to participate in the already existing training opportunities that probably would require some travel down to the lower 48.
Because I do hear from so many of them that they're anxious for their own security, and knowing that there are avenues via the web. Dr. Raines, did you want to weigh in here?
Yes, Madam Chairman. What I wanted to say was basically there is some good news stories in terms of how we're developing workforce for close to 20 years. DHS, NSA, National Science Foundation have been partners in these academic centers of excellence for focusing towards cybersecurity. There are over 200 universities and schools at this time producing cyber educated folks. And that's not just at the graduate level, the undergraduate level, but at the community college level. So we're trying to hit, or they've been trying to hit for a number of years, you know, getting the workforce developed for the right application areas, because, you know, a lot of the smaller utilities may be using, you know, more technician level folks than, you know, advanced degrees folks to help operate. So there is a lot of work that's been going into that over the years. And so I just wanted to give that to you, ma'am, as a good news piece in developing workforce.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you.